Um, so hello, everyone. This is Michael Coved, and this is the Grizzly Peak Cyclists, and we have Dan Hernandez from Bike East Bay. And I'm rocking my Bike East Bay sweatshirt this evening. And one of the themes that we agreed to as a club, or from a survey, I should say, was talking about bike safety. And one of the themes there that seemed to get the most interest was riding at night. And we are in about the darkest time of year. And so I thought riding at night is a really good thing to do this time of year. It would not be good to do in June. So there's some background noise. If folks could mute there. Tom, if you could put yourself on mute, or I will. Here we go. And so biking biking after dark is good for January, not for June. So we have Bike East Bay has a bike safety program, and we have Dan here. And Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you. And what we generally do is kind of do your presentation. We go up to about 45 minutes. You can use as much as that as you'd like, and then we'll do Q&A. If you have questions along the way, drop them in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring that, and I'll drop them in and get Dan's attention along the way if it's like germane to a very specific point. Otherwise, we'll pull them up and we'll go through them at the end. So without further ado, Dan, take it away.
Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you all for turning out tonight. So yeah, I am Dan Hernandez. I teach for Bike East Bay. I've been teaching for them. Just a moment about my experience, so that where the advice or where the presentation is informed by. So I teach for Bike East Bay. It's about 8 years now. I've been doing that. I'm the lead instructor, and I'm also certified through the League of American Bicyclists as a cycling coach of coaches actually now. So, and I grew up in DC riding a bike, and then lived up and down the East Coast, then out in St. Louis, and then out in California now for 15 years. And I've also worked for other companies doing recreational bike trips, leading bike trips. So this presentation comes from Bike East Bay and the League of American Bicyclists, but it's really pretty specific to biking in the East Bay. If you have any comments, like Michael asked, please let me know. Let me know questions that you have, because this presentation gets better with each iteration. So your questions about technology, about usage, about whatever it is, inform the next rider, so that we all keep riding and ride safer and happier. So thanks to you all for sponsoring this and for hosting this. Bike East Bay, I'm sure that you've had experiences with them, with us. So it's a member organization, advocacy organization, with bike lanes as a primary mark of our activity. Bike lanes, boulevards, the biking on the bridges, biking on the BART, biking on the boats, the ferries, biking at the bike stations, locking your bike up there, and obviously the big bike to work day that we almost had, bike to work week we had this year. So the things we'll cover tonight, normally this is about an hour presentation, so I'm gonna maybe cut some stuff, or just, I know I'm also speaking to, I'm in a certain level of experienced cyclists, so some of the terms I won't be diving into. So it'll probably take less than an hour, and I'm gonna aim for 45 minutes. So that way we can keep that format if you can just have questions, and we can open it up at the end fully. So we'll go over the legal requirements of lights. We'll go over the types of lights, reflectors and high visibility specifically. We'll look at those closely. And we'll talk about strategies for biking in the dark and dim conditions. Points to remember about riding in low light or in no light is you want to be seen and be seen. You want to see and be seen. So especially with the front headlight, you want to be able to see if that's a pothole in front of you, if that's a crack in the pavement, is it a puddle, or is it just a shadow? And then you also want to be seen by things that you're passing. So your headlight, I remember for me, this was a novel concept for a moment. It was like, oh, a headlight isn't all I need. I need to be seen from the side. Like a car doesn't just have headlights, right? It has all four corners lit up. So we want that. And then rear visibility is super important, and side visibility also. And then we want to capture our kinetic motion. There's parts of us that really are unique compared to anything else out on the road. It'd be like if you put lights on a car's motor and you saw the motor spinning. Our legs spin, so capturing that kinetic motion is fantastic. And you get a lot of bang for the buck. A lot of bike companies have realized this, and they've started incorporating lights or reflective surfaces on our parts that move, namely our ankles and our legs, as opposed to a stationary light like on your back or on your bike. So we'll go over lights and reflectors. The law says that we need to have a white headlight at least 300 feet in front that illuminates at least 300 feet in front. Beyond that, they want a rear reflector 500 feet behind you that reflects. You want some side reflectors. This is all the legal minimum. And you can get by with pedal reflectors or even ankle straps. That's the minimum, right? And so I think if you lived, I don't know, out in the hills, and you were 5 miles from your closest neighbor, this might cut it, right? You're like, well, the only lights that I'm going to see out there are other cyclists, because the farmhouses are pretty far apart or whatever. But in a rural setting, this would work. But clearly in an urban setting, like our background here, the cityscape back here, there's so much ambient light. There's so much, just looking out a window, there's so much that you can easily mistake for, is that a red reflector or a white light? So I think going above and beyond that is really important. And also knowing that, hey, if I am riding in a rural setting, I don't need much more than this. So types of lights, we've got, these are actually from a company in the Bay, Monkey Lights. These are great for being seen, right? These aren't going to show your path up ahead, whether it's a pothole or a puddle. It's going to show all the cars, all the other users out there that you're riding towards, you're riding past them. So in all the concept of lighting yourself at night, this was really, pardon the pun, but illuminating when I saw this. The thing that happens when someone sees us, so we're out in our yellow jersey and our blue helmet. A car is coming towards us, this old car is coming towards us. And the first thing that has to happen for them, obviously, to avoid us or to make a move around us, is they have to see us. So, and in this scenario, this car is getting closer. So the sooner you're seen, the more time this car has to do the other three things that have to happen. First, they have to see you. Once they see you, they have to decide, well, what are you? I got to recognize what that is. Is that the neighbor kid in the yellow jersey again, riding his bike? Wow, he's out late. Or is that a tumbleweed? Is that a dog running around? Like, the first moment you see something at a distance, especially at night, there's the moment of, I don't know what that is. And if you're going 60 miles an hour, that moment now is suddenly 120 feet closer to this person, your neighbor, or us out on a bike. So the next thing that happens is they have to make a plan. The driver of that car and you potentially have to make a plan. What am I doing? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I slow down? Do I hit the high beams to let them know on the bike that I'd see them in my big Ford car here, or my fancy old car here? So you have to make your decision. And all this, mind you, is while the distance is decreasing. And then the last thing of the four things that have to happen is they have to do it. The actual reaction has to happen. So this is also why this concept, again, they have to see you. They have to decide what you are. They got to make a plan about what you are, and then they have to do it. So the earlier we get seen, the more space we're buying, right? The more time we're buying. So I know black cycling clothes these days is incredibly fashionable and maybe irresistible to some folks, but I'm like, hey, give me the bright stuff, the old 80s, the neon stuff a million times, because I just know, like, after seeing this and working with lots of folks, we teach about 150 classes a year, about 3 a week. We have last year was a really small year, right? Because of COVID, but we still had about 1,500 people come through our program. And so each of these classes, I'll teach about 40 or 50 of these a year. these are in person, and I'll hear stories. I hear lots of stories, and people will show me stuff, and so I think it's super important, I think, to go bright, because you just get seen so much more early, and then all the other three pieces can happen. Consequently, this illuminates why it's so dangerous to go into traffic, right? If this fellow on the bike, we're going into traffic, then 8 things have to happen before there's a collision, right? Each of you has to see each other. Each of you has to decide what they are. Each of you has to decide what their plan's going to be, and each of you has to execute it, all while you're going towards each other. So again, the bright stuff, it buys a lot of time, and then all these things can happen without us ever being in a space where we feel threatened or we feel unsafe. So yeah, so the highlight there is the sooner something happens, the more time we get. The slower they drive, also, the slower we drive as drivers of cars, even the slower we bike. Coming down the hills, sometimes I'm tempted to let go of the brakes and just let the smile grow on my face. But I'm like, slow down, because the reaction time is going to be really tiny. And all these 4 things, if something else pops up, have to happen. And I'll live to ride the next day happily. So the types of lights we're going to cover. So we've got blinkies on the left. Basically, these are these little they're often, this one was a giveaway, but they're battery driven. They're under $20. We've got mid-range lights. These are classified basically in price, but also in effectiveness. And we'll look at how that's so in a second. So the mid-range, we talk about lights that are around $20 to $50, $60. These are both battery driven. You may have seen these. You get a free set of these when you do one of our classes, our in-person classes with us. And then a higher end, over $60. They go, light systems today go into the hundreds of dollars. And then you've also got other lights that, like we saw that dog chasing the cat in those monkey lights. That's a company, again, a local East Bay company, that you can put those other lights on other parts of your bike, right? Not just on your handlebars. Some of these lights could mount to a helmet as well. That way what you look at gets illuminated, as opposed to what you are able to point your bike at. And so we've got different prices on these. What I like to think about is the prices kind of being a rough metric of how far the light illuminates in front of you. So a blinky barely illuminates 20 feet in front of you, right? A mid-range light, maybe 50 feet in front of you. And over a higher end, over like $100 light. Again, this is ballpark. You kind of get what you clearly get what you pay for in some of to a really fair degree in this. So one thing that really drives home the point of illuminating is a bike goes about 10 miles an hour, right? An average speed rather for a cyclist is about 10 miles an hour. The average speed of a walker is like 2. On a bike though, if you're going 10 miles an hour, you cover in 1 second, which is about a typical reaction time, or actually that's a pretty good reaction time from what I've been looking up. And in 1 second, if you're going 10 miles an hour, you've gone 15 feet. So a blinky's not going to really barely show anything ahead of you. Like by the time it shows it, you've already almost are within your reaction time. You should have reacted. So these are terrible for illuminating what's coming ahead of you. Maybe if you want to go walking speed, they're great, but walking at 2 miles an hour, but again, a bike, you need something that projects more. So say you're going again 10 miles an hour, typical reaction time is like a second. So these are decent for going 10 miles an hour. But once you start going 20, 30 miles an hour, you're doubling. So you're going at 30 miles an hour, you're going 50 feet. Yeah, 50 feet roughly, 45 feet per second. So by the time you react, you've gone 50 feet. That's about what this light will illuminate at its best, really. So if you think about, well, my commute is in the flats. It's on a trail, a paved trail. There's not many obstacles. It's good pavement because it's a trail. There's not a lot of potholes. There's not glass. There's not someone's recycling out in the way. There's not debris. These are great for that. for going slow, but once you get going, like with any speed, like you're pushing your bike, 15, 20 miles an hour, or you're coming down with gravity assisting you down hills, you definitely want to have more projection out in front of you so that you can plan. Again, just like this slide showed us, we are at times this thing, right? We are the bike, and this is the neighbor walking their dog. We need to see them because we're the offender. We're the one who's going to cause a lot of damage when we're going 30 miles an hour on our bike or faster and hit someone, a pedestrian, a dog, or a person. So the sooner we see them, that obviously all this applies the same way. So that mid-range isn't going to cut it when you've got some speed. So the higher end, higher range lights are really important at that point. The ones where you put on the rest parts of your bike, the other parts of your bike, are really great for being seen. They're not throwing light out in front of you. And these can be anywhere from a few dollars to really expensive, hundreds of dollars, like those monkey lights. They're amazing. I think they're beautiful, and they make people love bikes, which is really smart. So other things to consider about our lights, is the light charged by battery? That is fortunately an old technology that isn't nearly as efficient, I feel, objectively, and batteries, the rechargeable, even rechargeables, they don't work as well as batteries today. So you've got a USB charger in most lights today. They have that little USB. I work at a shop part-time, and most of the lights, I'd say it's over half the lights at this point, are USB. It's kind of hard to actually find anything with batteries, especially in the high-end range, right? In this range, you probably get the batteries down here, and they kind of start phasing out in the middle range. We also want to think about the usage. How long? This is a huge question, right? How long do you need that light for, and how much light do you need? So you can get a lot of lights today have different settings. You can, high, medium, low, and extra high. Blink mode is a different one. But on the packaging, and pretty accurately, they list how much time they'll give you under each burn, under each power setting. So a light that I just got recently, it's about a middle cost light. It's a USB. It was about $60 or $50, but it has settings where you can get only an hour out of it. It's super bright at that point. And it has settings where you can get 14 hours out of it. So it really depends on how you want to use it. And again, for me, going downhill, going where there are many things that could come out, like other users that could come towards me, I want a bright light. So I'll be on the higher end of that usage. Other things we want to consider, unfortunately, we do live in a pretty heavy bike theft location, the whole Bay Area. Leaving these on your bike is, I think, asking for them to be donated to someone else. So I definitely opt for taking lights off. I don't leave them on. If I left them on, I've forgotten them, and they're often not there. So I would really consider that. And most bike companies are pretty savvy to this now. They're not doing something. This slide is, I'm going to just jump back to this slide where things are screwed in here. It's pretty old, or unless this thing pops off pretty easily. But these days we have these little brackets on lights that function really well on it. I think that there's a few years where they didn't work so well. But these days the material that this is really durable, and it lasts a long time, and it's really effective the way where it holds your bike, it clamps it to the place on the, or sorry, clamps your light to where you want it on the bike. And then again, city versus rural, seeing versus being seen. We've talked about that. There's different beams that you can, or beam width, that you can get in your light. So some folks who are really into mountain bike riding at night, they want maybe something that illuminates more than just their little part where they're going, because they need to quickly make turns. They need to see if tree branches are in the way, if rocks are in the way. So you'd probably want a bigger beam with that. Then if you're just, I'm on the bike path, I'm going straight, it's pretty straightforward, or I'm in a city setting and I'm going straight. Not, I mean, you're not, no rural, or no, sorry, no urban riding is needs to be. You're not riding in an urban setting and moving your body around like you would be on a mountain bike with any speed. So a mountain biking situation, you definitely want to flood what you need to get into, better than in an urban setting. Blink pattern is also another setting you can change on these lights, mostly for, well, for front lights and back lights though. You can set different blink patterns. Often people ask, well, do I want to be on a blink setting in the city with my headlight? Do I want it to be on, or do I want it to be on continuous mode in the city for my headlight? And for me, the answer is, if I can't see well enough, confidently enough, with enough time going back to that car and that yellow jersey rider, if I can't see things ahead of me without, like, confidently enough and with enough time to make plans and not be in, like, oh gosh, I'm in reaction mode, as opposed to just moving out of the way or getting out of things. If I can't see that well, then I'm going to use the beam of my light in continuous mode. Usually in a city, there's enough, I feel, in the East Bay, in San Francisco, there's enough light in San Rafael and Marin parts. There's enough ambient light from city lights that they do a pretty decent job. Again, this is a rule of, I mean, like I'm just kind of rule of thumb. I mean, in city settings, there's often enough ambient light that you can ride with your headlight on blink mode. You don't need it to illuminate up ahead because the city lights are illuminating whether that's a pothole or not. If I'm going too fast, if I'm going really fast, or I can't see things well enough ahead, I'll take that blink mode off and I'll use it on continuous. So another way of saying what I'm saying is, the blink mode catches more attention. And if I don't need to see what's up ahead, I want that attention. So I'll leave my headlight on blink mode. But once I'm going fast enough, or there are enough things around me moving, I'll leave my headlight on continuous. And then same thing for the back, when the red light in the back, a blinking light catches more attention for sure. And we'll see it time wise, depending, we can see a video on this for sure. And then placement on your body, like we mentioned, the kinetic motion. If you capture lights, these, when you put lights or reflectors on the parts of your body that move, you get a tremendous benefit from that. So reflectors and high visibility. We've got things that reflect. Most bikes, when they're new, basically come with a reflector in the front and one in the back. You can get reflectors built into the sidewalls of your wheels, of your tires. You can just go basically with a dual purpose, keep the pant legs out of the drivetrain, and also make it high visibility and make it kinetic motion. This is going to be going up and down. This is advertising versus just that, right? That's just one light that's not really moving. This is saying up and down, up and down. This is a cyclist. A company sat down people in our research department in front of computers, and that had video footage of cyclists being approached by a car in low light. And they said, push the button when you know it's a cyclist. And folks pushed, the responses were pretty clear, that when there was light on the moving parts of the cyclist, these lights, they were way better, way sooner than even a red light that was stationary on the back of a seat post. So this kinetic, this moving motion is really great to capture, and these do it like that. So this person's got on a shirt that in the daytime is all black. Once you shine a light across it, it is super reflective. That's great. For me though, I'd rather that reflection being on the moving parts, right? Even simple stickers like these, this is super reflective. It's 3M backing. That if you put on, basically this is what goes into pedals, right? Most pedals used to come with reflectors built into them, but you can put reflectors on your gear, or sorry, these stickers that are reflectors on your gear. And again, I'd try to maximize the moving parts of myself that way. Yeah, so standard red reflector, reflectorized tires. All right. When you've got reflectors, what do we want to think about? You want to grab the moving parts. So taking those stickers and putting them on the cranks of your bike, on the cranks or on the pedals. Here's a crank arm. If you put them here, that goes a long way, right? If you stick them here, it's going to be a moving, again, advertising versus just stationary. In your wheels as well, you can take these stickers, take that sticker and fold it over a spoke and back on itself. And you just put in great reflectors. That way nothing, don't break, and are always on, basically. And because they move versus other reflectors, they throw light in different directions. They're really effective. Some materials more reflective than others. We found the 3M stuff is definitely worth it. And at A's down the street, there's not much of a difference in price, but I would not bother getting anything but 3M if it's a choice. Some other stuff I found, just especially with like colors in it, silver and red, doesn't work that. I mean, I just found if you want the 3M, the reflective stuff from 3M really is helpful. Putting that in your usual gear. I've got a helmet here. I took a couple of those stickers and I just chopped them up, put them on the parts that didn't already have reflectors. I think that's people pulled up next to me at a stoplight and said, "Hey, I saw you. Thanks a lot for being lit up." And they're talking about a bike helmet or something of hearts of my gear. Not effective. So the reflectors clearly aren't effective in the daytime, because they work as mirrors, right? They take the light and they throw it back. In the daytime, there's so much ambient light, but they work like super well at night because there isn't that much light. So they'll take what is shot at them and reflect it right back. One way to figure that out is take your camera, your cell phone camera or your camera, and use your flash and take a shot of your gear, or have a friend do it when you're on your bike at night, and you'll see all this stuff. It pops like crazy, the 3M stuff, the reflective stuff, and you're like, oh, it's awesome. And what you could also do is have them film you with some light on. Like most cameras these days will leave that light on for a little recording, and you'll see the kinetic motion stuff, whatever parts of you that have that reflective stuff that's moving. You'll be like, okay, I've seen the light, I believe in it. So what about lights and reflectors, the combo? That's what we want to do, actually. So this person's got lights. These are just lights that are battery powered. This person's mostly all passive. This is all reflectors except probably one light right here. So these green and yellows are going to be pumping up and down. I often think about it as when I'm riding at night. I use these. I have them on my bike. I've got a number of these, really old ones, really wide ones, new ones. I just keep them on my bike, especially these days when it's dark at 6 or dark at 5, even earlier sometimes. And I think about when I'm riding and I'm coasting at night, I still will be moving my legs because that's my advertising. Like, so I want to, if I'm coasting because I have enough speed, I'll still just be moving my legs to let cars see me better. And knowing that, yeah, I've got a light back here. It's on my seat post. It's a little lower. Like there's probably a seat post light right here that's not on. But this stuff, again, look how bright it is in this picture. And if it were going up and down, which we'll see in a video, it's kind of hard it's actually hard to ignore versus just just one stationary red light or 3 stationary red lights, right? It's kind of a false sense of security in a way to have a light and think, hey, everyone sees me, because you'll see in a couple of slides, there's so much ambient light in the city. So reflectors, the benefits of them is they don't need to be charged. They're not fragile. They can be seen from really far away. They weigh very little. They're durable. You can drop them. You can fold them. If you leave them on the bike, what happens? You know, someone might take them, but probably not even. And they're super easy to replace. Lights are great though for multiple angles. They don't need to throw light back, right? They make their own light. So they're effective during the daytime. They're effective during low light situations. And one thing before I forget, just I'll say it now, that rain and nighttime is really hard for people to see cyclists because we're asking them to see one light when rain makes everything shiny, right? If you think about next time you're riding at night, squint your eyes a little bit and just, or next time you're driving at night or even looking out your window at night, there's just, if you squint your eyes, you kind of can turn off the really dim ones, to kind of like block out the dim lights and just see the really powerful ones the more you kind of close your eyes. And you think about your brake light isn't the brightest light, right? There's so many lights out there. And in the video, we can do this, or in a moment, we can do that little exercise. So yeah, you can, so typically if we were together, we'd turn out the lights and I'd shine a light around the room and we'd see all our high vis stuff and you'd see, wow, that really works. And then I'd show you, if you're moving one of these things, how much more it draws your attention. How many cyclists are wearing yellow? Our brain is really actually wired because we have more receptors for this color in our eyes than any other color. So this high visibility, the tennis ball green, we have more receptors for that color than any other color. So it's super easy to just quickly look at this scene and say 2 people. But if you're like, well, how many are wearing blue? It's way more difficult. Yeah. Michael, we have a question?
Yeah, there are a couple that came in, specifically one on this topic. Is there research showing if drivers treat cyclists differently depending on how visible the cyclist is?
I mean, I've heard anecdotally. I haven't read that myself and I haven't seen it to say yes, but I have over the years, again, working in bike, like we're doing trips, bike adventure stuff and recreation, and then now teaching. I've heard over the years, yes, that they are treated differently, similar to when cyclists are wearing a helmet. So I have heard that, yes, cyclists who are more visible are given more space.
Yeah. The other question is saying that you've seen riders with 2 headlights, one blinking and one non-blinking. Is that a common thing? Is that legal? What's behind that?
Not. Yeah, it's not illegal for sure. It's kind of an arms race. I feel like we're in a kind of an arms race between cars with their lights getting brighter and the cyclist light getting brighter. Like the way cyclist lights are measured, I didn't mention this before, but the mid-range light being like $50, it's kind of a rule of, I mean, a really crude rule of thumb, but you could think of it as it illuminates 50 feet in front of you and it has about 50 lumens of light. So they measure them in lumens. And old bike lights, a 50 would be great. These days, you get about a bright light is like 1200 lumens. And that used to be a car light, but now car lights are brighter. And so I think it's unfortunate because we can actually blind a driver. Like some of our lights, I've got a little, this is a 350 lumen light. And if I shine this, and this was only a $50 set, this came with the rear, that's a USB charger. So pretty middle of the road, not high end at all. 350 lumens at a driver of a car, when I'm going past them, when I'm on a path, it can cause them for sure to put a hand up, and I've seen it. So I think more lights is good, but I would actually caution a little bit about how powerful all those lights are. So a little, more lights like these, like lower ones, fantastic. But if you've got 2 1200 watt lights or 1200 lumen lights, you're potentially, you're annoying people like to no end probably. And then they're just going to be like, cyclists are annoying. I'm going to treat them like annoying things next time I drive my car past them. And potentially you're putting yourself, I think, on a path with cars coming towards you in danger because you're high beaming them.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Let's see. Other things to consider. These vests are amazing. They weigh nothing. They're collapsible. They go on top of all jackets. They're basically free. And look, this is daytime. And look at how much the fluoro, the reflective stuff is popping when this picture was taken. And the reflectors even, right? These are going to be going up and down versus one stationary light. I want to get to a little bit of this video before, so we're at 7:37. Daytime lights is another concept, and like you mentioned, wearing 2 lights, and then daytime lights. I think daytime lights are helpful. Initially, I was like, that seems redundant, and it's going to just eat batteries. But these days, USBs, and I think honestly, it's worth considering that drivers are more distracted than they were before. We've got more stuff to do, and studies show that people multitask when they drive. more and more, it's kind of, I think it's more common. And so would I kind of join that arms race and say, well, I need another light, or I need an extra light because drivers are more distracted. In the daytime, I'll run my lights. I do sometimes, for sure. I also consider what you're riding on. So these folks are going under a canopy right here, going under a bridge. So they're going to be going from a well-lit area to a dark lit, or well-lit to low-lit, well-lit to dark, to just even under canopy of trees. And some of our streets in the East Bay, we have, you know, a lot of bright sun. Lights help in those situations because you're going under, again, shadows or shade of trees or buildings back into bright light. So again, with multiple, or with drivers doing multiple things, being pretty much distracted, I think lights during the day, multiple lights, is a good idea. Low light environments, morning, evening, fog, rain. Again, rain is it's pretty crazy how if you think about how much, tonight or on a night, if we got rain, hopefully we get more rain these days, but at night, just think about one little bike light, right? Your one little red light. When you go out in the rain, just think about how many surfaces this light reflects off of. It becomes a kaleidoscope. And so for drivers to see us is really difficult, I think, in rainy conditions at night. If you're just using, like, if you're just thinking, oh, I've got my light on, I'm good. You really want that kinetic motion. Those straps I mentioned, these little ankle lights, or these little lights on our ankles that light up our motion, are really great in that low light, because then the whole thing gets wet and it reflects even more. Low lights, we talked about those. Same thing when we get the sun low in the horizon, early morning, early or late evening, low light situations. The bright clothing really helps a ton. Here's someone in dark clothing, just the reflectors are coming up in their helmet, you know, just a yellow bright vest. And I kind of wish cycling companies would steer more towards this. I see lots of cyclists in all dark kits, and my 2 cents are, I'd rather be seen, because every time someone's told me I've gotten hit story, it's always preceded with, the hit is always preceded or after, followed by rather the driver telling the cyclist, I didn't see you, I didn't see you, I didn't see you, I didn't see you. You know? So again, I'll err on being too seen in the bright clothing and the reflective stuff, with the one caveat of I wouldn't use super powerful headlights going towards cars. This is a test to find the best sort of bike lights. No, go past that. Okay. We might do that, but I think we've got a video that, let's see, is it in this? Oh, it's not in this presentation. Okay, it might take me 1 second, but I'm gonna pull up the video. Well, 7:41. Yeah, let's play this one. It's got a little extra stuff. It's got British accents, so you can trust what they say more because it comes in a British accent. I've heard that that's actually true. So in conclusion, then we'll watch this video. So you want front lights, rear, sides, and motion. Definitely want to grab the motion. Lights, reflectors, use color. That bright fluorescent is hard to resist, hard not to see. Find a strategy that works for you and the type of trips you're doing. Budget wise, this stuff is, you know, free. You know, I mean, it's essentially, it's $1 or $2 for the stuff. This you can get the 3M stickers, and you can get pretty big sheets of it. Chop it up, put it on your gear. It's the price shouldn't be a reason that you're not seen at night. And yeah, if you want the stylish thing, you can do that still. Let's go back to this video, and it might be grainy at times, but hopefully I think we get something out of it, and it'll be a nice conclusion. And then we can go into lots more questions if you folks have them. All right, cue the British accent. It's about 5 minutes. This isn't a test to find the best sort of bike lights, nor are we going to try and tell you how to stay safe. No, what we are going to do though is show you 4 very different lighting options and 3 different kit choices, and then present the results to you so you can make up your own mind about what it is that's going to work for you. Because remember, what may work for one person in one situation might not work for another. No, right, let's run through the options then, Matt. First of all, we have this very cheap LED light. How bright is that? Yeah, not too bad, just like tolerate that on my retinas, I think.
Yeah, so you can pick that up for Hampton Loose Change in just about any supermarket. Then we've got a mid-range LED. How bright's that, Matt? Yeah, that's quite bright. So that is significantly more expensive and significantly brighter, but still not top end. Then we have essentially a stadium light. I'm not going to show that in your face, Matt, because I think that might blind you. And it's also incredibly expensive, but it is super effective. And then finally, we're going to show you some cheap lights that we got off eBay. Now, as I said, they're not very expensive, but they are exceedingly effective. However, I wouldn't leave them on to charge whilst I'm going to sleep, just in case they burn my house down. Definitely don't do that. But in terms of kit, we're going to try 3 sorts of kit: black kit, fluoro kit, and also some reflective kit. And most importantly, we're going to do this in 3 different sorts of light conditions as well. A low light, dusk, as it is now. Then we're going to do it in the pitch black in the country lanes, and then in a suburban area with street lights. Let's start with low light conditions. What is it you want from lights? Well, you certainly don't need them to help you see. So it's all about improving visibility. Let's look at our 4 contenders then. In the distance, Matt and I are modelling each of the front lights. We're about 100 metres away at the moment. You can see the difference quite clearly between them. As we move closer, it takes until 30 metres for the cheaper LED to really show up. But the expensive exposure light really does stand out. From the back, the picture is similar. The cheaper LED is simply not really doing anything. Just how bright you need that rear light, though, is a matter of personal choice. Now let's look at the cycling kit. Using exactly the same test, when do we start to show up? Well, to use the lingo, fluoro really does pop, even from 100 metres, whereas black doesn't until about 20 metres away, which is pretty significant, really. Interestingly, reflective seems to actually get lost in the car park behind, so that doesn't actually stand out very much either. It's quite interesting to see that the fluoro jersey actually stands out even more than the mid-priced rear light in these conditions, which is certainly food for thought. Now, what about at night on roads lit up by streetlights? We'll do exactly the same test. Well, the cheapest LED is almost useless, not standing out any more than the reflective number plates on the parked cars.
So this is where I was saying, like, if this is a headlight of a bike in front of you, but if you kind of blur your eyes,
it certainly couldn't be reliable.
If you blur your eyes, all these other lights like this become also potentially other headlights, right? That kinetic motion, again, is super useful because it distinguishes you from just one of, in this scene, 20 ambient lights that are brighter than your one headlight.
The mid-range LED is solid and the cheap eBay too, but the expensive exposure again stands out the most. From the rear, the picture is similar, although both LEDs actually get quite lost amid the reflective surfaces of parked cars. The super bright one is noticeably more visible and instills slightly more confidence, in us at least. From a clothing perspective, the fluoro wins out, but it's pretty clear that none of them show up quite enough. As for the black-only jacket, well, we don't think it's particularly obvious until we're basically on top. Finally, what about total darkness on country roads? Well, not only do you need your light to illuminate the road for you, it's clear that the extra brightness pays dividends in terms of visibility. Again, the cheap LED isn't really effective. At least a mid-range one seems essential. But both the eBay special and the exposure were brilliant at lighting the way, helping to be seen. Both LED rear lights look underpowered in these conditions. For reliable visibility, the super powerful rear light stands out. As for clothing, clearly none of them are suitable on their own, but reflective panels seem to be the most successful at improving visibility. There simply isn't enough light for the fluoro to stand out. So what conclusion can we draw from all of this? Well, fluoro kit is great in low light conditions, and it seems to be a sensible choice for winter clothing, more so, in fact, than just sticking a cheap LED light on. But as for your lighting needs, the cheap ones don't really seem to be worth anything at all. Mid-range LEDs are visible enough to instill confidence in us, at least. Clearly, the super bright lights do a much better job.
All right, I think I want to leave enough time, and that was their last conclusion for questions. So, Michael, you there?
Yes, I sure am.
Great. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'll open it up with a question and encourage everyone else to join. This is great. Dan, I mean, you're so knowledgeable about this. It's very impressive, your knowledge. The question I have is, around like helmets and helmet color. And so, you know, I've noticed orange or yellow helmets to really stand out during daytime. So this is a daytime situation, not nighttime. And so if one does not have a orange or yellow helmet, would those visibility, you know, like an orange visibility, I don't know if 3M makes, you know, an orange or a bright yellow, would it be advantageous to put, you know, cut out of those, you know, type of kind of high visibility colors on front back side of your helmet? Is that helpful or not good enough? It won't really help.
Is it on top of a dark helmet, you're saying?
No, well, I know I have a white helmet, but other people may have dark helmets. It's just not yellow helmet or a orange helmet, you know?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember now where I've heard this, but it was, someone was referring to a study where that the helmet showed that it was a person and it humanized the other user of the road versus like a car or something else, or even like trike bikes or recumbent bikes. When the helmet is illuminated, it takes that thing and it shows it's a person. And so the distance, this person, according to the study, that the distance that cars were giving these folks was a little bit more in brighter helmets. Again, that's, I wish I could totally cite this study. But I think one, is it going to make it worse? No, like it's not going to make you more invisible, putting stuff on your helmet. Two, is there reason for it drawing attention to you, because it does point out that, you know, you're a human, that you're a person, that's your head, versus a recumbent bike where it looks like a pod or like a go-kart, even like a big wide recumbent bike, or a trike or something. I think those do humanize it a lot more. You know, it's really hard to cut someone off when you're looking at their face and you're driving your car. I just think that humanizes us. So I'd say go for it.
Okay, great. Why don't I open it up, or, you know, folks, you can take yourself off mute and ask questions of Dan while we have him here.
Quick comment. I always have 2 headlights and 2 taillights at any given time, just in case one fails. And GPC had a good group purchase of the Cyclic camera lights, and those have really, really good lumens. One problem I found, though, last year, shortly after I mounted it on our tandem, the wind blew it over when we were at Lake Temescal, and the side motion snapped the bracket. So one thing to remember is a lot of these heavier lamps seem to break easily with bumpy roads, or yeah, and that was a drag. You know, $16 later for a new bracket, and waiting for it to come from Australia is a bummer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's a great point. I think that when you mount one of these heavy lights, or this is again a low weight one, but mounting a bigger one, and you're used to propping up your bike just with the back tire against something, but you mount a heavy light and it cams over the handlebars and your bike falls over a couple of times, you're like, oh yeah. That's a bummer that it broke. Yeah. I did want to add one thing, if there's a pause in the questions, that is a strategy too, like along with having multiple lights, is when at times when I've forgotten my light, because I'm human, it happens, and I have a blinky or something, I'll take my blinky and I'll put it on my finger and I'll ride. And as I come to a 4-way intersection, I'll have the blinky shooting at me. So it's a white one, I have a white blinky and a red one, but I'll take either one if I have no lights. And I'll take that blinky and I have it like this, and I'll just turn it towards myself. So I wish you could see, but what I'm doing is illuminating my body. So if I have any reflector on me, on my gear, on my helmet, it's going to be, I'm shooting my own light, and it weighs nothing. I can still handle the bike easily. It's just I wear it like a ring. I found that at times to be super helpful, because I can show a car, like if I'm going in an intersection, towards an intersection, there's a car that wants to make a left right in front of me, and I don't know that they see me. So if I could just shine a light at myself, and that's what I've done. I'll take another blinky, put it on a finger, and I've done it when I didn't have any lights, and sometimes actually when I have plenty of lights, I'll take that white blinky and just put it there, because then I can just show myself up and down my bright stuff, and know that, well, you just clearly showed them you're a person and you're riding towards them, as opposed to just a couple of headlights coming towards them.
I have a question. This
Yeah.
is Mark. I'm just curious about, I found that riding at night now is really difficult only because the car lights are so bright on my eyes, and I do try to, not look at them, but I just find that's really a challenge for me now. And I don't know whether because I'm older or whether it's just the car lights are bright and there's so many of them, but I just find that difficult, and it tends to make me not want to ride.
I totally,
On a road, on a narrow road, like a 2-lane road where there really isn't, any way to avoid it. A path is different, but yeah. Anyways, I don't know if there's strategies for that or.
I totally agree with you, Mark. I feel like one place that's terrible is if you like, just to drive home the point for folks who might not understand it, but if you're in Emeryville and you're going towards Berkeley and you're on the Bay Trail, so you're going along the frontage road, the cars coming towards you will blind you, and you can't see the path in front of you. Even if you have a mid-range light, you need about 70 lumens. I was just kind of ballparking this tonight as I was riding home. I'm like, well, short of that, I cannot see the pavement in front of me. And if there's a mattress there, if there's a dog napping, if there's whatever, I'm hitting that thing. So for me, what I realize is putting my hand up really does give my night vision a chance to see my trail better. And so I don't want to ride with one hand up. So what I've done, what I realized is like having a helmet with a visor, if you ride a lot like that, and just tilting your head down enough that your visor blocks the light from those cars, it makes a big difference for me. The other thing is I choose to ride roads like the Arlington versus Spruce, right? The Arlington is a divided boulevard for a lot of people. And so only cars going my way. But I agree. I feel like objectively car headlights have gotten brighter. And that's what I was calling the arms race. Like now we respond with like a 1500 lumen light that, like that guy in the video, like if you shine that at someone's eyes, I think they're not going to see anything for a few moments.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the comment. Question, yeah.
Terrific. Other questions out there?
One quick comment. There's been some chatter on the GPC listserv about the protocol for riding behind someone, two cyclists or more, not having your light so bright that it's annoying to those of us who use mirrors, say a helmet mirror. So I don't recall if you mentioned anything about the protocol of blinding the guy in front of you or the gal in front of you.
Totally. No, that's a great point of consideration. Yeah. Behind a cyclist, obviously, like when you have someone behind you and their headlight, if you have mirrors or even just, it will definitely blind you. So tilting that headlight down and the mid-range ones and the higher ones, you can tilt them down. If you have a headlight or if you have a helmet mounted light, knowing what you look at, every time you've ever gone camping or with your kids, there's kind of the learning curve where you're like, you've never worn a headlamp because you're looking me right in my pupil and I can't see anything. And then you're like, hey, tilt that down, and you figure it out. The same thing with even more with these, even more powerful lights. Like when you get behind someone, if you're riding in a group, pointing it down, pointing it a little bit over. If it's your head, I'll just tilt mine. I'll totally take the headlamp or the helmet mounted light I have and just move it over. And then I'm not blinding people. Yeah,
thank you.
I have another question too. Hey, do you know how, if there any information on how many accidents happen at night for cyclists versus riding during the day? I mean, how much riskier is it?
Yeah, I haven't seen those numbers. I think that'd be fascinating to see.
I got to believe it's way riskier. I believe that. For me, it's riskier, I believe, because it's just, there's so many. Not seeing the road is actually something, and how bad our roads are, and all of it's just, the potholes and, the risk of falling from hitting an object you don't see, that's serious, easy to happen.
Yeah, I can see that for sure being borne out in data that light or night time there's more crashes. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen someone launch that study.
Terrific. Well, this has been good. I kind of open up if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I'll begin just wrapping it up. Anything else? These were good questions. And Dan, once again, we really appreciate your participation and your knowledge. And, you know, you've illuminated all of us this evening. So this has been really good.
Awesome. Well, no, thank you all for hosting. Hope to see you out on the trails. If any way Bike East Bay or any of these educational opportunities can come up for you again, let us know. We'd be happy to do anything.
Okay. Great. So part of my, and thanks. And so part of the wrap up here is for everyone, I have a SurveyMonkey URL I just put out there. Fill it out, let us know, give us feedback. We've got, you know, really good feedback along the way. You know, this is again, another quality presentation, you know, lots of really good information. Our next speaker event is on Monday. So I want to encourage folks to come out for that. It's Michael Kahn, who's a GPC member, is going to speak about rides. He calls them mini tours around the Big Sur. So given the pandemic, people aren't traveling as far as they have. And so he's going to talk about the trips he's taken and how he preps for it. So I want to encourage everyone to come out for it. So again, thank you so much. This was great. Thank you all for spending an evening with us. And we'll post this on the website, and please share it with your friends. Okay, thanks again. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, later. Bye-bye.